This happened 3 years ago when I was renting a basement suite outside Vancouver. The house belonged to an older man named Dennis. He lived upstairs, but he was rarely home. He worked long shifts as a security guard and usually returned sometime after midnight. The suite wasn't anything special. One bedroom, a tiny kitchen, and a living room with a ceiling so low that I could touch it without fully extending my arm. But the rent was cheap, and at the time, that was all I cared about. There was one part of the basement Dennis told me not to use. Under the staircase was a narrow wooden door. It had no handle, just a small keyhole and 2 scratches across the bottom. Dennis said it was a storage closet filled with tools and exposed wiring. "Don't try opening it," he told me. It isn't safe." I didn't question him. For the first few weeks, everything was normal. Then I started hearing noises at night. Not loud noises, just a faint scratching sound coming from underneath the stairs. Pause. At first, I assumed it was a mouse. The basement was old, and there were gaps around some of the pipes. I bought traps and placed them along the walls. But the traps were never touched, and the scratching continued. It always happened at roughly the same time, just after 2 a.m. Scratch, scratch, then silence. One night I heard something different. I was lying in bed with my phone charging beside me when 3 slow knocks came from the living room. Knock, knock, and knock. I sat up and listened. There was nobody else in the suite. The front door was locked, and all the windows were closed. Several seconds passed. Then I heard it again. 3 knocks, coming from inside the closet beneath the stairs. Long pause. I texted Dennis. "Something's moving around in your storage room." He responded almost immediately. "Old pipes, don't worry about it." I remember staring at his message because it didn't make sense. Pipes didn't knock 3 times. I turned on every light and checked the front door again. After that, I stayed in my bedroom with the door locked until morning. The next day, I noticed something that made me uncomfortable. One of the traps I had placed near the staircase was gone. Not triggered. Gone. I searched underneath the furniture, but I couldn't find it. That evening, I confronted Dennis as he was leaving for work. He acted annoyed and told me to stop worrying about harmless noises. When I mentioned the missing trap, his expression changed. For just a second, he looked frightened. Then he told me he would check the closet the following morning. That night, I woke at 2:13. Someone was whispering in my living room. I couldn't understand the words, but it sounded like a man speaking very softly. I reached for my phone and opened the camera app. I don't know why. I suppose some part of me wanted proof that I wasn't imagining it. I slowly opened my bedroom door. The living room was dark except for the green light on the smoke detector. The whispering stopped. I aimed my phone toward the staircase. The closet door was open. Pause. Only a few inches, but it was open. I could see complete darkness behind it. I quietly backed into my bedroom and locked the door. Then I called Dennis. He answered on the second ring. Before I could say anything, he whispered, "Is the closet open?" My entire body went cold. I asked him how he knew. He didn't answer. Instead, he told me to climb out through my bedroom window and wait for him across the street. Then the floor creaked outside my room. Someone was standing in the hallway. I covered my mouth and tried not to breathe. My bedroom door had a small gap underneath it. As I watched, the light from the living room disappeared. 2 bare feet were blocking it. Long pause. They didn't move. Dennis was still on the phone, asking what was happening, but I was too afraid to respond. Then the doorknob slowly began to turn. I dropped the phone and ran to the window. It was one of those small basement windows near the ceiling. I dragged a chair underneath it, forced it open, and pulled myself up. Behind me, the bedroom door shook in its frame. Once, twice. Then it slammed open. I didn't look back. I squeezed through the window and landed face first in the wet grass outside. I got up and ran across the street without my shoes. A few minutes later, Dennis arrived. He was still wearing his security uniform. He called the police, and we waited inside his car. When officers searched the basement, they didn't find anyone. But inside the closet, they discovered blankets, empty food containers, bottles of water, and a small hole cut into the wall. The hole connected to a crawl space that ran beneath most of the house. Police believed someone had been living there for several weeks, maybe longer. They never found him. But that wasn't the worst part. A police officer returned my phone after finding it on the bedroom floor. The camera had continued recording after I dropped it. Most of the video showed nothing but the ceiling. Near the end, however, a man stepped over the phone. He was extremely thin and completely naked. He stopped in the doorway and stared toward the open window. Then he turned toward the phone and crouched down. His face filled the screen. For several seconds, he stared directly into the camera. Then he smiled and whispered, "I thought you'd never hear me." Long pause. I moved out that same day. Dennis sold the house less than a month later. I don't know who lives there now, but sometimes I wonder if they've started hearing the scratching too.